This week's guest is a very outspoken and funny man who's traveled from across the ocean to right here in Barrie. This week we've got Oz from Rock 95. Well, we're sitting here at Minette's Point on a very chilly morning.
Isn't it beautiful? Look at it, the beautiful city of Barrie in the background.
I always make sure my guests kind of choose a happy place. You got to tell me then, why are we here as a happy place? Why Minette's Point?
Minette's Point, look, first of all, you get to the backdrop of the most beautiful city in the world.
Absolutely.
One of them. My home city, Dunedin's pretty cool too. But my second home, Barrie, most beautiful city in the world. Look at it. How can you not love this?
Yeah, even on a cold day.
You got a playground behind you. I come here and I play with my son a lot. I got a 3-year-old, so we come and hang out here a lot. This is his favourite park because I don't know if you know Ruth, just around the corner there, at the dairy. She still has 50-cent ice creams.
Ruth is amazing, and the old fish hut days where you used to be able to rent the fish huts out of here and stuff. This is actually a very old point in Barrie.
Beautiful place,
yeah.
Except for the goose poo.
Yeah, well, that's Barrie, right? You walk around the waterfront, that's going to come with it.
Goose poo.
So why Minette's Point? Other than the fact that it's obviously beautiful, there's got to be something for you here. And you know what? This wonderful cold weather, if you don't like the weather in Barrie, just give it a few minutes.
I think you get used to it after a while, the weather in Barrie. But you know what it is? It's actually one of the first places I came when I came for an interview at Rock 95.
Oh, okay.
One of the first places I came and sort of tried to focus and get the nerves out of your system before you go to the interview was Minette's Point in this very parking lot. So, I have an emotional connection to the place. So.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, that was 8 years ago.
Has it been 8 years?
8 years.
Wow.
I was 30 years old.
And so you weren't around with the old Rock 95, or did you know much about it? When did you move here then? Let's go back to that.
Oh, okay,
we'll come back to Rock 95 later.
Sure. For 2 years to Canada.
Yeah.
I'd moved to Canada in 2008.
2008.
2006 for the first time.
And you moved from where?
From New Zealand. I'm a Kiwi. From Aotearoa, as we call it.
Okay, so what'd you do? Lose a bet? Like, why did you wind up in a cold country?
Why does any man do anything?
Women.
My wife. My beautiful wife's Canadian. She's from Pickering, Ontario.
Oh.
So she wanted to come home and have babies where her mum was.
Nice.
And my mum's a great lady, but she's kind of like, I'm done with kids. I had 5 of you, go away, deal with your own. So my mother-in-law, has as much as she's a character, as they all are, she helps out a lot with us.
So then what lined you up with Rock 95? So you get here. What lined you up with Rock 95?
You know what? It's all about timing. It's like everything else in life. It's relationships and timing, right place, right time, and I got given the opportunity.
So what was it that was your passion for radio then? What gave you that the je ne sais quoi, that what it was, the panache to want to even do it? Because radio is a big deal. You have to talk and...
Radio is an interesting beast, that's for sure, because whenever you put yourself out there in the public, you're always going to get feedback and criticism.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing I deal with radios, is getting that feedback or someone going, get that guy off the radio. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's an idiot. But then, the truth, then you get the positive people. We live in such a great community. We really, as you're
We're
well
pretty
aware,
open-minded.
Like, the city is a great place, and there's so many great people doing so many great things in the city of Barrie that I just wanted to be part of that. And you get to do that on the radio. It's not. I don't look at it as radio though. I look at it as comedy. All I get to do is sit there and talk to Kat and Craig, two other fantastic people, and just talk for a living. Can you say that? Can you say that on the radio? Sorry, on the TV. Okay. I can't say it on the radio. Can you say it on the TV? No, I get to talk nonsense for a living.
Yeah,
and it's fun.
And you've got a great team too, because I listen to you and Kat and some of the banter back and forth.
Yeah, we have our good days, our bad days. She's a very strong-willed woman, so
I caught that. So that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's a great thing. But we have different views. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I just love a good conspiracy.
Well, then you love what's going on in politics right now and the 100%. Way the world's going right now. It's definitely a very controversial and conspiracy-driven kind of planet right now.
Well, I think the way the media's gone as a whole is very conspiracy-ish. You can put whatever you want on Facebook with the right amount of money. For the right amount of money, Kev, and the right advertisers, we could probably make you mayor of the city. But when it comes to marketing and advertising and impact on people, I think we live in a society today where social media is, you can put whatever you want out there and people believe it.
Well, it's funny when people say, well, I saw it on Facebook, it must be true.
Well, that's the opposite.
And it's exactly the opposite.
Right.
Well, not to drop certain names, but if you look at the old Bob Barker,
right.
behind the camera, he's a terrible, terrible guy. But when he's on camera, he's funny. He's protecting the elephants and spay and neuter your
But he
pets.
also has a huge amount of money behind protecting him. And you'll start to see more and more of this with social media, is that people who are actually not really nicest people off camera or off air or whatever the medium is that they broadcast through, they're actually some of the most egotistical, insane people.
Yeah, and there are the people who are vocal on social media, and you're good at social media because I see some of your stuff, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's a little edgy.
Sure.
And that's what creates conversation. And
that's
I think
the key.
we have to stop being so offended.
Oh, we live in a really interesting world at the moment because you can't have an opinion.
No, because you've offended somebody.
Someone's going to be offended. So you can't actually, whatever you're pro or whatever you're for, if you get out there and say it and someone doesn't like it, next thing you know, you're the bad guy. Which when you're in a public profile like on the radio, you can't necessarily have an opinion because there's always going to be someone that's going to write to your manager and say, yeah, I don't like what he said.
Yeah, well, you look at Howard Stern, and people were like, oh, he offends me, I'm going to change the station. But if I was stuck in traffic on the Don Valley back when I lived in Toronto, when he launched on radio in Toronto, you would listen to him and you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm dying. And so was the guy in the car beside me. And people around you are laughing because people don't want to admit sometimes that they listen to things or they watch things.
People who may not enjoy you will still listen just so they can write to complain about you.
That's what it is.
You know, you got some amazing talent come out of Canada, like guys like Humble and Fred.
Oh, I love Howard Glassman.
Howard Glassman is an amazingly nice man.
He just did some stand-up, actually, at the Barnstormer.
He sure did. Yeah, did you go?
Weeks ago. No,
he's a funny guy.
Well, I met him a long time ago, and he did a bit with a band called the Doo-Wops.
Okay.
And it was hysterical, the old CFNY days. But I'm going to come back to my home here to the Rock 95 days. So they're still the originals, right?
Tim Weston, first man on the radio.
Yeah.
A funny story, like when I first moved to Barrie, first of all, when I started at Rock 95, I commuted for 2 years. 2 years every day I drove from Toronto. From Pickering, from my mother-in-law's basement. I drove up the city. Then it got to a point where, you're driving in the winter, as anyone who drives up to 400 every day knows how crazy that can be.
That wall when you hit Bradford,
frightening. Tim Weston actually offered me his basement. So I lived with Tim Weston for a couple of years in his basement. So Monday, Friday, and I'd drive back to Pickering on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then come back up and spend the weekend. Yeah. So I got to know Mr. Weston quite well, and he is a great man.
Well, I met him 25 years ago roughly now when it first opened up in the old Kozlov Mall. Yeah,
he's what we all, when we're younger, we all look and go, I want to be that guy. And
well, he's Barry's Charlie Sheen. Right? We'll just call him Tim Emilio Vesca. So you've got this really great crowd you work with.
Yep, but great people.
Let's get to know you a little more too. Because
what do you want to know?
I want to know. So let's talk about you. You've got a new little boy.
Yeah, we've got a 3-year-old.
He's 3 years old.
Yeah, we've got a little man, Wesley, who changes your world. It's funny because I spend most of my day arguing with a mini clone of myself. Because of the privilege I have of doing the morning radio, I'm finished by 10, so I get to have my little fella most of the day. Yeah. And I just argue with a clone of myself. It's fantastic.
So what's it like then? What was it like for you when you found out you were having your little boy? What was it like? What were you doing? Where were you?
We were in Barrie. We'd just bought a house. We'd just got settled. We finally had a little bit of money. And then we found out we were going to have a baby, which is so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. You've got 3 kids, Kev.
I do.
You know how exciting it is.
Yeah.
Blew my mind away. Changed me as a human being, though. Made me far more aware of other people who go through harder things than me. Seeing people whose kids may be going through challenges. You see a 3-year-old on social media who's going through cancer, and it just blows your mind because you live in this bubble or this perfect world where your kids are super healthy. So being a dad turned me into someone who wanted to do good for other people who weren't as lucky as myself.
It's a game changer for a lot of people.
100%.
And I think that when you look at, and I see your aspect of it too, when you're on the radio, there's a change that happens to you maybe even 3 years ago. You noticed a change in just what you said and what you did on the radio because things will now affect you differently. Like you hear about a child who was maybe hit by a car or a school shooting.
Yes.
4 years ago.
You relate it to your own family,
and you have to try and desensitize a little bit because 4 years ago that wouldn't have affected you.
Right.
But 3 years ago, now you're like, that could
anything.
be me.
It could be anything. It could be anything you see anywhere.
So you find that affects your radio?
It affects my radio in the sense where if I see someone locally who needs help, I have the medium to be able to give that help. And, there's people who don't have the medium to give help. There's some fantastic people in this community who have maybe more financially secure, who give money to different causes. So, by working with people who have different strengths, we can come together. I can get it out there, get people aware of it. People can fund it. Like, for instance, there's a kid at the moment who I'm so proud of. His name is Zach.
The runner.
He's going to run from Barrie to Ottawa to raise money for mental health. and he's doing it because his mum suffers from depression. Now, he's 12 years old, and he's taken
He's doing everything he can.
It's unbelievable. But then you start to look at the local businesses and the local people that came together to help out.
Come together.
And give this kid what he needed to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I love the most about being in a city the size of Barrie, because Toronto, you may never get the same opportunity.
No, and Barrie, I've noticed that there are people who kind of go to the same well all the time for the same people for the money.
There are people that like to stay on the radar. People like Stu Garner, Patrick Brown does a lot of good things in the community. There's so many people that do things that people don't know
and
about.
There's somebody like you who's a visionary and also has your heart and mind into it too, so you can be creative and out of the box and create
I try to help. But also try to step back, because I don't want it to be about me. You know, look, what happens in my industry is people sometimes do it for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. They do it for the reasons of, you know, whatever. I try to pull right out. I try to stay out of photos. Sure. I don't want the attention, but there are other people who are doing it for the wrong reasons.
Well, so there are people who like the attention. I can't say I've never really denied attention. I don't mind it, right? But that's not ego. I like to learn people. I like to get to know people. So if I'm talking to people and people see you out there, that's a good thing.
It is.
Because Barrie's a cool spot to know people.
Oh, Barrie's a great
to network.
City to know people.
So for you, for example, you're putting your heart into things. I see you at events. I see you, like, you know, just when you've got a microphone, people are drawn to you. Other than your accent, you're fun.
Some days.
Well, you are.
Some days we're not so fun. That's life, though, right? I think we all go through ups and downs in life, and I'm lucky enough that I have the right team around me. Craig and Kat, again, like these guys, when I'm having a lull day, where I'm just like, oh, I don't feel like being funny today. These guys will come to the party and support. So we have a really good network. Our chemistry's tight. So I'm lucky to have a team around me.
So what's it like at home for you too? Do you find that once in a while you do have some days where you just can't stop talking, or there's days that you just can't? You can't turn it off. There's got to be Oz Rock 95, and then there's got to be Oz at home.
I don't know. You probably best ask my wife that question more than me. I don't try not to be. I think I'm true to myself majority of the time. There are days where I wish I could say things, but sometimes you can't because it may cause more trouble than good. But I think at home I'm more or less the same guy. I hope I am anyway.
Well, it must come. You're very much like me. We tend to be fourth and fifth gear all the time, 6-speed G-Drag. But
I used to think ADHD was a weakness. Now it's a superpower.
Apparently it is. So when you're gearing down back from third to second, what is it that you find? Where's your zen? Where's your happy place that allows you to just chill out and be you? If you could do something to turn off your mind and just do your thing. Do you paint? Do you draw? Do you go for walks?
Everything. You know what? I like to do a lot of different things. What's the one thing I would do to unwind? My wife would probably say play PlayStation.
Favorite game?
I'm an NHL fan. I'm a sports guy, man. Give me any sports game, I'll play it.
Yeah.
That's how I learned the rules of hockey. I didn't understand what offside was, but then, you know, you get on the PlayStation and, I get it now. I understand.
Yeah.
So I guess my wife would say PlayStation. I don't know, man. I'm a big music guy. I have a big record collection.
Yeah, you seem like a music guy.
I have a massive vinyl record collection, which I just love. So I love popping a vinyl record on. I know it's trendy, but I was doing it before then. So I think it's
So
cool.
What's your favorite vinyl? What's on your record player right now, or usually?
That's a good question. What's on my record players right now is I was listening to it last night with my son, is Queen, the best of Queen. The album, just because my kids
lip sync it all the time. They love it.
Flash Gordon is my kid's favourite song. Flash,
oh, really?
He's just a big fan of it, so we blast that. I got a neighbour called Ross, Grumpy Ross.
Yeah.
He's always banging on the door, turn down the music, because he's a great guy though. So, but we always crank it right up and just dance in the living room. So I don't know, man. I think the one thing I think spending time with my family any way I can, whether it's a walk, whether it's arts and crafts or whatever. Big gardener. Gardener.
Yeah.
So that's my answer.
I like that too. My tomatoes are in the ground already. I love that.
That's risky though, isn't it? Before May 24?
Happy. They're happy.
So gardening, I'm going to go with gardening. My wife will say PlayStation, but I'm going to go with the green thing. And I enjoy gardening. So I grow all my gardens all my plants from seed. We grow them inside. It's amazing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It actually growing something and having to care for it.
Well, sun, gardening, it's all the same sort of thing. So you've got this maternal sort of thing that's probably pretty natural to you then. So what is it then?
I grew up in a nursery, so that's why.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, my dad's a horticulturist. He passed away, but was a horticulturist. So I used to hate it. You know, all these other kids would be going out and playing in the yard, or you know, playing in the street or playing basketball. My old man had me potting plants and getting them ready. Never really enjoyed it till now. And you look back and go, wow, I actually learned something.
We're going to call you Aussie Flowers from now on.
Yeah, you can. I don't know how Frankie's going to feel about that. But
Frank's fine. He's easy.
I'll steal his brand.
Whatever. So when we get to know you then a little bit more, then let's kind of go back further into that. What was it like growing up in New Zealand. What's that like?
Oh, you know, it's funny though, and we talk about how beautiful this city right here is, and how beautiful this whole area is, you know, Simcoe County.
Collingwood and Barrie.
Beautiful, beautiful. You couldn't ask for anything more. Where else in the world can you go fishing and then go skiing?
Yeah, you pretty much can.
Not many places in the world.
No.
Not many places you can actually pull a fish out of the water and eat it.
Yeah, we've got some really great shoreline around here. From here to Wasaga Beach, you know, you've got Wasaga Beach with, you know, one of the world's longest freshwater beaches and stuff like that. You've got some great stuff around.
Stunning place.
But let's not even. I love it here, but let's say
where
New
I was
Zealand.
going was that you never really appreciate where you grow up until you leave.
Yeah.
Oh, I said, oh, New Zealand's so boring. Nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
But, you know, not until you leave and you go back and you look around and you go, wow, I was actually really lucky to grow up here.
Yeah.
And be part of, you know, a beautiful country like New Zealand. New Zealand's just it's got some great things about it. For instance, we gave back a lot of the land to the native.
Yep.
Part of that agreement.
And that's pretty historical because that was a big deal.
Very cool. One of the first countries in the world. I think we say we're the #1 country in the world to give women the vote, but I think Iceland snuck in there by a couple of days before us. First country in the world to give women the vote. When the Japanese tried to invade New Zealand in World War I, all the fellows were away fighting. It was the women and the older men who fought them off.
That's crazy.
You know, we gave back the land to the native, and part of that treaty, part of that agreement, the Treaty of Waitangi, was that we'd learn Māori in school. So our culture was that half of your day you'd go and learn about the 26 gods.
Yeah.
26. Then the other half of your day you go and learn about the Christian system or the Catholic school system that they have.
Sure. So when you come here, then that ability of you just growing up in that sort of environment where you've embraced Aboriginals, you've embraced other cultures. You must notice in Barrie that sometimes it doesn't feel like there's a lot of different culture here, but there really is.
Oh, there is, 100% there is.
Yeah.
I think you got to look for it. I think if you want to put your head in the sand and ignore it, then it's easy to hide from it. But if you actually want to get out there and experience it,
there is a lot of really interesting culture in Barrie, and I think that it gets lost when people just focus on one person or somebody's got the attention on the news and it's only one white guy.
Right.
And in Barrie, we're a pretty good melting pot. It's a surprising
100%.
melting pot,
100%.
especially this close to Toronto too.
Beautiful place, beautiful people.
Yeah. So when you're doing your off days, what is it that's getting you pumped up in the morning then to go to work? Because you've got to get up pretty early.
Caffeine.
Caffeine
does it.
Well, that's a Canada
I don't know
thing.
if you do morning radio, I'm not sure if you ever actually wake up and go, oh God, I'm so excited. I don't think anyone gets out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and goes, I just don't think that happens. You get out of bed and go, oh God, again? How many days to go? Oh, I think you do, but once you get into the studio and you start hanging out with your friends and you're laughing, I think, like for our show, some of the best humour happens when the mics are off.
Yeah.
Because you can be a bit more open, a bit more conversational, and that people might go, oh, I don't know if you should say that.
Yeah, I've watched some of the guys do radio before, and I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff. And sometimes that behind the scenes stuff is what you wish could be on radio.
Right.
Because I've seen guys come back and they're just giggling.
Yeah.
And before they went to break, they were talking about a war.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden they're making jokes about something and they come back and they're all giggling, and it's kind of hard to get back.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. We try to stay on topic off air, but it's just some of the jokes that you probably upset a few people if they did hear them.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more cruder.
So what's your favorite part of what's going on right now in the world? Like what is it that you love reporting about? What is your favorite target right now? Because Donald Trump's a given, right? What else is out there that's making you drive your show?
I think that a lot more. The political system, a lot more open. I think people are more communicating. I love good stories. I love human nature stories. I love hearing about like stupid criminals of the day, and that's what I like. I'm one of these guys that enjoys the stuff that most people don't enjoy. I try to stay away from the politics of life. It's nothing I can do. It is depressing.
It is.
Most of them are liars and crooks and thieves, and they don't really care about what goes on.
And not to bash politicians or support politicians, but there are the guys who put their heart into it. But there's always a whip at the front that tells everybody what to do.
I think that everybody intends when they get into politics to be right and honest.
Yeah.
But I think as you get into it, I think you get a little bit twisted and.
I think people get mixed up with the fact that when you're voting, Liberal, Conservative, NDP, you're trying to support a party.
Right.
Whereas somebody, if you run municipally, you're supposed to be voting for a person, not a party, and it gets kind of confusing for people, right?
Yeah, I like the shoot from the hip kind of guys. I'm always for someone who just speaks honestly, even if they may make like Rob Ford, for instance. Not a massive Rob Ford fan.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, did he save that city a lot of money.
He did save the city a lot of money. At the end of the day, no matter how much you hate the guy. Pretty fascinating.
Yeah, very fascinating story about how he could focus over here and do the right things economically.
But wow.
Wow.
Yeah, train wreck. Wow. Yeah. And so we don't really have that kind of guy in Barrie, maybe not yet. But soon.
One of us needs to run then.
See you there. Yeah, all right. Pick a word. So we have a lot of things in common too, which I enjoy. I love that you're into the dad thing, and you're big on the city. What is your favorite thing about Barrie? What is your favorite thing about Barrie?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because Barrie loves you.
There's
like
so many answers. Like obviously the community. Like you know, it's a very political answer.
Well, I was just going to say that, because if you were to just kind of close your eyes and think, what is your favorite thing about Barrie? You know, what is it? Is it? And don't you don't have to say the people or the view. Like there's something about Barrie. What's your favorite place? Favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant?
Yeah,
can I do that though?
Yeah, we can do that.
Can we do that though? Because then other restaurants will go, oh, how dare you pick that one? I don't know, man. I'm a small town kind of guy. So it's places for me. It's places like Deb's Place or small local businesses where you know the owner. You walk in there and they go, "Hey, Oz." And I'm saying that she's got my photo up on the wall, so I'm kind of like,
but you can do that, because I grew up eating Sophie's once a week, right? So what? It was great burgers, right?
It is.
And so there's things in the community. The restaurants aren't going to be offended if you didn't say them, because there are places in town
there's so many good places.
And that's, I think, probably a better answer, because it really is. It's tough to find a good.
But I think what we need to do, and you know, if I've got people's attention, and they're, you know, for Barrie, I think what we really need to do. Excuse me.
I know.
I think what we need to do is focus more on supporting local. Like, we have to buy local. The only way our economy is actually going to sustain is to stop buying from big box stores.
Yeah.
Probably going to get in trouble for this.
No, it's fine with that too.
But buy more local. Like, go to local restaurants where they employ local people. I'm not saying big box stores don't, but the money leaves the city. You need money to stay in the city, and it needs to be reinvested.
When you see that hashtag buy local in Barrie, it gets shared like crazy.
It's a very
I've got to
thing.
say that in all the communities I've lived, like I've lived in Toronto, Montreal, all over the place, and somehow come back to Barrie. I'm born and raised here. And there's something about Barrie supporting Barrie, and I think you must notice that Barrie is very big. And it's not just downtown. There are places in Park Place, there are places on the north end. You go out to Horseshoe Valley, and this whole community supports buy local.
And I think that's very, very, very important. I think we need to do a little bit more, but I think it's super important. My favourite thing, going back to your question, my favourite thing about the city of Barrie would be the fact that you can do 12 different things in one day. So you could go skiing, and then you could come down and do a bit of ice fishing, and then you can go and have a nice hot chocolate at Bohemia or whatever. Yeah. There's so many things to do.
Great hot chocolate there.
Oh, beautiful hot chocolate. Yeah. There's so many great things to do in the city, and that's what I love about it. It has such a choice or such a variety.
Yeah, well, we tend to embrace our waterfront too. We embrace our waterfront. We embrace our small community, and there's some great restaurants and stuff around the waterfront and all around town.
Yeah.
That I'm sure you've got to get out and see.
I've been to one or two.
So, what's your day like today? So now you've got you're working this morning.
Right.
So then what's it like for you for the afternoon? What are you doing?
I have so many different things. I spend a little bit of time with small to medium-sized businesses, because I understand marketing. I've got a little bit of a marketing background. So I spend a bit of time with small to medium-sized businesses, just helping them learn how to market their business a bit better, you know, how they should grow. So I volunteer a bit of time there we're really small little independents. Like, you're talking ma and pa based shops who have no budget, but are curious, how do I market my business on Facebook? So I do that. I also work with a couple of local businesses in a marketing field, and then my little fella, my 3-year-old, man, I pick him up at 2 o'clock from daycare, and we'll spend the day together.
Cool.
And we'll probably do something fun.
So then, do you ever find that you have a hard time bringing work home with you? Like, do you find that there's work sticks with you, or do you try
it does, 100%. But that's the job. I think that's something that people really need to understand about radio, is that you do, like, you've got to be open and honest with your life.
Yep.
You've got to put your life out there, and you've got to talk about it, because people have the same problems as you do.
Yeah.
And I think if you talk
really
about
do.
it, they really do.
People think that they're disconnected from everybody. It's like when somebody posts something about a bad breakup on Facebook.
But we're all going through that.
Give it a day.
You know, every marriage has their ups and downs. Every
life does. Business does.
Sure, it does. Business certainly does. But you know, so I think that I think you can't help but bring it home with you. I think and vice versa. Yeah. I think if you have an interesting day at home, I think it comes to work with you.
It can, because you can come to work and talk about a really funny thing your son did, or something your wife said. Like, that happens all the time.
Sure,
all the time.
Sure, it does. And my son says a lot of stupid things. Well, so does his father.
Well,
father like son.
There you go. So then, with that though, and I wanted to kind of get both sides of this, because I want to know the positive and unfortunately the negative too. Mm-hmm. What's it like when you have a bad day at work and you're reporting about something tough? Do you find that you're bringing it home? Does it kind of distance you a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can't.
How do you
help
handle
it.
that? Because there's always going to be people too who want to criticize.
Yeah, there is. I think that over time it changes your perspective on it. I think you some things that I used to put a lot of emphasis on, like if an email came through telling the managers how useless I am, you kind of take it to heart and go, oh, did I say the wrong thing? Is it my fault? But then you realise that everybody's entitled to their opinion. No one's always going to agree with me, and so your priorities shift, and then you sort of move into focusing your energies in the right area.
Yeah. So then, how do you feel when it's those positive days? Do you suddenly just grab your son at 2 o'clock and go grab ice cream? Do you have?
I try to do that every day. I try to.
Really?
I try to make sure that he has an exciting day every day because memories for sure. And I lost my dad early. My dad passed away at 56. Dropped dead of a heart attack playing volleyball. It was 10 years ago this year. But you learn lessons from it. And one of those lessons I took from that is that you're not guaranteed every day with people. Doesn't matter if it's your wife. Doesn't matter if it's your kids. Doesn't matter if it's your whoever in your life. You don't get them. At some point. One thing I can guarantee you, none of us are getting out of here alive.
No, that's true. And it's funny because when you think about, especially when you're raising a child, it's not who bought them the bicycle, it's what they did on the bicycle.
Right, it's where you go on your adventures.
The memory,
100%.
Right? They tend to forget where the money came from or where the gift came from.
Do they even comprehend
They don't care
money?
if it's from Santa or anything anymore.
My kid thinks he's a millionaire. In fact, for most of my life, I thought my parents were wealthy.
The wealth is inside.
Right. Anchoring positive memories, positive influences, being there for them, talking to them, laughing with them. That's for me, that's one of the most important things is I want my kid, whilst I've got this time during the day to spend with them, just to anchor positive memories and do good things. Go and help out at a charity or go to a charity event, bring him along.
And you do that a lot.
We do. I bring him to a lot of events. I think it's very important for him to understand that not everybody is lucky as you are in some aspects of your life. Not everyone has their mum and dad. Not everybody has health or financial security, whatever that is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Whatever that is. So I want him to understand that he needs to spend a part of his day giving back to people, because if he doesn't, I don't want him to grow up being an egotistical little.
Well, nobody really does, right? And I can't see that happening with you as a dad. I can see him having some great experiences. So what is next for you? What's next for Oz?
Oh, that's a great question.
Do you plan on staying with Rock 95 for a long time?
As long as they want me. You never know. Look, radio's a funny one, right? You never know when your time's up. Like, they must just decide, well, we're done.
Look at Derringer and guys like that. They won't ever let go.
Do you know how much that guy earns? Unreal money.
But he's been around a long time.
10 years, $10 million. Derringer's contract, man. He's about $1 million a year.
Really? Well, he's a pretty big anchor in the GTA.
Sure he is.
Yeah,
I'm
sure you could bring that to Rock 95.
I don't know if they're going to
say, hey, what do you say?
Do you think we should approach them and say, hey, listen, I'm probably worth $1 million a year?
We'll need some bigger sponsors.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're happy paying me with $35,000, but I plan on staying. I don't plan on going anywhere, but you never know, right? You never know what the plan is.
Opportunity.
And I'm lucky because there's not many, going back to local businesses once again, Rock 95 and Cool FM are owned by one man, actually two men, but Doug Bingley's the primary guy, and Doug is such a great man.
Yeah, he's a really great man.
Oh, he's super cool.
For a guy who has that much influence and power in town, you'd never know he has any of that, because he's so humble, such a nice man.
Very giving.
And he's very polite.
He walks around the station like, hey Doug, how you doing, man? Like, such a, he's
well, that
such
to me is what a
guy.
leader is too, right?
That's
a better leader, because the leader gets involved.
Amazing leader, yeah.
So you do so much for the community, and I'm really glad that you became my guest today, and thank you for accepting, because I think you're such a fascinating guy.
I'll be honest with you, Kay. I had no intention of doing this. I had no intention, and I'll tell you why. I'm not. Look at this face. It's just not made for TV. However, my wife caught wind of it.
Yeah.
That you had asked, and she's like, "Is that the chocolate guy?" And I'm like, yeah, it is. Well, she goes, well, you do it. Make sure you get some chocolate.
Well,
so the only reason I'm here for my chocolate. So do I get some?
Yeah, you'll get some chocolate.
Perfect.
But I want to tell you that on behalf of people at Rogers and people all around town, you're really well appreciated in town. We welcome you to Barrie, because I think your heart is in it for the right reason.
You say that now until I blow it.
Yeah, well,
I'll do something stupid and then I'll be like, oh no!
But your heart's in this community.
No, it is.
And the city of Barrie loves you. And I hope that you really feel at home, because
100%.
Barrie is Oz.
Oh, I love
So
Barrie.
thank you for being my guest today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, man.
Cheers.
Good to see you.